I close my eyes and colors fly. There's no hiding from your grace. I can't deny you're half of mine, and it's unrelenting chase. I was on the edge of deception, caught up in my own hesitation, until your love took over me. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. On a oasis, here awaits us all the freedom I ever need. Now I'm alive. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I come alive. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I come alive. When I let go, then I come alive. The higher way is calling me to a life unlike before. The Father's heart is beckoning, and I can't resist no more. Lead me in the ways of devotion. I don't wanna get caught in the motions. My heart is only for you, Lord. So I let go.
All right, I'm back. So today's question is, what are you supposed to do when things are like actually bad? You ever think about that? Yeah, what are you supposed to tell somebody who's going through something, and it's not just like it might maybe look like it's getting bad, but it's actually bad? You ever think about that? We've been going through this series where Jesus gives us 5 reasons not to freak out. It's called Don't Freak Out, and if you've missed out on it and you want to go back and look on Facebook, YouTube, and stuff, you can do that later. Don't do it right now. And we've been covering reasons why Jesus says it's not necessary. You don't need to freak out. And so many of us struggle with freaking out. I mean, you and I, when things start to look even questionable, you know, when things start to look a little bit sideways, like they're going sideways, we start to think, well, what if this happens? Or what if it doesn't happen? Or, you know, how am I ever going to be happy again? Or, you know, and the frustration builds and we get tense and we get anxious. And of course, Jesus tells us, look, you don't need to do all of that. You can escape that. But But what about when things are like they're actually bad? Like, it's not just that you think something might go a certain way, it has happened. The thing that you hoped wouldn't happen has happened. That happens, right? That happens to people. It's happened to some of you. Some of you might even be going through it right now. I don't know if you're watching at home or in the car or whatever. Maybe that's happened to you. Maybe it's happening to you right now. You're just trying to process it, and it's difficult to process when bad stuff actually is happening. In fact, I think out of all the different ways and times that we're tempted to freak out, when bad stuff has actually happened, I think that's the hardest, because your emotions are just, at their peak. You're going through all these like psychological, scenarios, and at first, there's like denial. Well, maybe it's not even true. That can't be true. I won't accept that it's true, but maybe it's happened, and maybe, and there's all kinds of things. You go through this kind of like bargaining. Well, maybe I could fix it right now real quick. Maybe I could just, go back in a time machine real quick, or, maybe I'm just dreaming, or, and maybe if it hasn't happened to you, maybe you've, been friends or family of someone who is going through something really hard, and you know what it's like to watch someone go through that. Somebody gets betrayed or suddenly loses something very important, and it's just not coming back. And when we go through things that are that hard, we are at our greatest risk of making some of the worst decisions we will ever make. Occasionally, somebody makes a very good decision in that moment. They just hit like a rock bottom, and they say, okay, I have to get focused, I have to get clear, and they have like a God moment. But in so many cases, some of our worst decisions that we have ever made can be followed back to a moment where something happened that really we couldn't deal with it. We couldn't handle it. Not the right way. You ever done something real dumb as a consequence or a reaction to something that was just real bad? No? Oh, okay. Oh, I totally had you pegged wrong. I got to go write something different because this isn't going to work. No, it's true, isn't it? Isn't it true? When you're really going through something really hard and it just hits you unexpectedly, or I don't know how it happened, but you just sit there and you're like, oh, you start to think about signing on for things you never would have signed on for. You start to consider abandoning things you never would have abandoned or neglected. You start to look for outs. You start to look for love in all the wrong places. You start to look for how you can make up for what you've lost by replacing it with something else, and do it quick so it doesn't hurt. That thing that the Indiana Jones does, and is it the Temple of Doom? I can't remember. He's got the bag of sand, and there's the thing, and he's got to make the switch. Sometimes people do that emotionally when they go through something traumatic. They're kind of like, I don't want this, but, I got something. All right, I'm good. People do that emotionally. I don't know if you've noticed. And what I'm here to do this morning is actually to share with you what Jesus shared with his men about why you don't have to freak out even as something bad has happened. And I'm going to take you, of course, to John. We've been doing a little reading project in John here as a church. I hope that you're joining in with us. And Jesus is preparing his crew, his young men, his disciples, for something that they were in total denial could ever happen. And it's not that Jesus didn't repeatedly come back to this and warn them about this thing that was going to happen and how they're going to be grieving. He did, and yet they're just in denial. And here he is on the last night before the thing is going to happen. And this is what he says. He says, the bad thing's going to happen. The bad thing is going to happen. And he's talking a little bit mysteriously. That's how Jesus has always been with them. He's always very metaphorical. He always speaks in mysteries, but this one, he's spoken enough. They should get it by now, but they won't. They won't get it because they won't have it. Have you ever tried to talk with someone and deliver bad news? Has that ever been on your shoulders before? Have you ever been the one that had to be the one to do it? It's not much fun, is it? No, I mean, it'd make you squirm no matter who you are. Nobody wants to be the one. And you just have to get it out there somehow, some way, and you watch, and they're just kind of like, what? You know, they go through this whole process, you know, there's no. And have you ever talked with somebody who was actually so freaked out by the thought of a bad thing happening that they wouldn't even let you, like, actually talk about it out loud? Have you ever had that? You know, maybe your mama was like that. You know, you start thinking, what if something ever... Don't you ever talk like that. Don't you ever say those words. Don't you even let that come out of your mouth, you know? This is how the disciples were with Jesus when he talked about how one day he'd be strung up on a cross. And they're just like, no, don't you talk like that. You can't talk like that around anybody save us. Don't even say those words out loud. What's wrong with you? That's how they'd been. But he won't stop, and this is the night before he's going to be betrayed and delivered up to arrest and beating. And it says in John 16, verse 17, it says, some of his disciples said to one another, what does he mean by saying, in a little while you won't see me anymore, and then after a little while you will see me because I'm going to the Father? What does he mean by a little while? What does he mean? And of course, Jesus knows. He knows. And so he tells them. John 16:20, he says, I tell you the truth, you will weep and mourn while the world rejoices. In no uncertain terms, I am telling you right now, you are going to be grieving soon. Because of the thing that's going to happen. You're going to be sad. I mean, you're going to be wrecked by what's about to happen. But here comes the good part. See, he could have just ended it there. That's where most people would end it. Bad thing's going to happen. I'm going to be wrecked. And then, who even cares after that? But Jesus begins to describe life in a way that nobody's ever described it before. I'm sure of it. He talks about a mother giving birth. He says, you will grieve, but your grief will turn into joy. Did you catch that part? He says your grief is going to go from grief into joy. Like a coin with a really bad side and a really good side, the coin is going to flip. It's not even going to be like a, oh, this is awful. And then things just kind of get less and less and less awful and less awful and less awful till they're kind of like tolerable. Right? No, that's not what it's going to be. You're going to be grieving, but your grief is going to turn into joy. Have you ever even thought about anything? How does that even happen? And he gives this beautiful illustration. He says, a woman giving birth to a child has pain because her time has come, but when her baby is born, she forgets the anguish because of her joy that a child is born into the world. And so what Jesus is starting to picture for us is that there's going to be there's actual trouble, actual pain, actual grief. And something he is about to do is going to take that and say, this is for a purpose. This is for a something. This isn't just an unfortunate event. But there is pain and there's a purpose on the other side of it. And when you realize the purpose, you won't be grieving about the thing anymore. It won't be grief. It'll go from grief to joy. Just like that mom, that beautiful picture of a mom laying in bed after delivering a baby. You know, she's just gone through like the most wrecking, painful experience that life has to offer in a natural way. She's just gone through all of that. And listen, I'm in no place to, try and reenact that for you, okay? I'm just not. But, you could just imagine, some of you can really imagine, okay? You're like screaming and crying and tears and pain, and I don't know if they gave you the epidural or not, but you're going through some stuff. This is some heavy-duty stuff. And in a moment, it's like, here's your baby. And it's like, what else can you focus on? Just had a baby. For some people, that's the hope of all hopes. He just brought this life into the world. And when you were in the pain, not to diminish the pain was real. The baby that is delivered does not make the pain less painful when it's happening. It's still pain, right? You still feel what you feel. It's hard. But when the baby comes, there's joy. There's joy. And there isn't, some of the babies look better than others. I understand that. I understand that. All babies are beautiful. Of course they are. Makes me think of a comedy sketch, Somebody needs to wipe that thing off a little more, Is it supposed to look like that? But there's all this joy, and you're just, wrapping your mind around what's happening. It doesn't diminish the pain when you're in the pain, but you don't just sit and think about the pain after the pain's over. Oh, that was so much trouble. I can't believe how hard. You're not doing that. It's different. And it's suddenly different. And this is what Jesus says. This is what Jesus says. He says, so it is with you. So it is with you. Now is your time of grief. Now is. But I will see you again, and you will rejoice, and no one will take away your joy. If I could just translate this for you, super simple, it means it's bad, but it gets better. It's bad, but it gets better. And I don't mean that it's bad, but eventually it will just feel less bad. And I don't just mean that it's bad, but eventually you'll be okay with it somehow. I don't mean it may be bad, but eventually things will just get put back to being as good as they were before. That is not what he is saying. He's saying it's bad, but it will get better than it ever was before the bad. Can you see that in that picture of that woman giving birth? It will get better than it was before the bad. Not just up to par, not just okay-ish again, not just you can tolerate it, but it will be better than it ever was going to be before, and it's on purpose. I wonder if that means anything to you today. I wonder if that means anything to you today. Sometimes people in the world will tell us well, yeah, you're going through a hard thing. You're going through the breakup, or you're going through maybe it's a divorce. Maybe somebody betrayed somebody. Maybe you lost somebody suddenly, or lost something you can't see a way to ever getting back. And, people will come alongside you, well-meaning, and they'll say, well, it's really bad now, but eventually it'll get better. What do they mean by that? It'll get better than it is currently. I mean, it's awful now, so, sometime in the future, it'll just be kind of like, I can live with this. It's not what Jesus is talking about. Can you hear that? It's not what Jesus is talking about. It's going to be better than it was before it all started. And something in you, get this, something in you knows that you actually need that. Don't you? If you've ever experienced something really, really, really unpleasant, something in you, in order to get through it, to live and just have any kind of hope, has to believe that somehow things won't just be okay again, but somehow this will not have been a waste and it will be worth it. You have to have that. You have to know that. You can't keep going without it. You have to believe somehow this is going to be better than if the thing had never happened. Somehow on the other side it's got to be better than it was. And listen to what more Jesus has to say. As you think about that, he says, a time is coming and has come when you will be scattered, each to his own home. You'll leave me all alone. Yet I'm not alone, for my Father is with me. I have told you these things so that in me you may have peace. In this world you will have trouble. Did you hear that? He said that out loud. Why? Why did you have to say that? He said you'll have trouble. In this lifetime, the whole thing, trouble. Trouble. But take heart. I have overcome the world. But take heart, I have overcome the world. He says, look, I'm not diminishing the pain of the world. I'm not making empty promises that all of the world and all the people that implies are going to somehow just all like flip-flop and change their minds about being sinful and just turn into really selfless, generous people and just going to treat you all right and going to, come back and make amends for everything they've ever done and put everything back in its place and straighten up the house again. I'm not diminishing the trouble. You're going to have trouble. You're going to have trouble now, you'll have trouble in a week, you're going to have trouble in a month. And the trouble, I'm not here to wipe out trouble. Not what I'm doing. What are you doing? What are you doing, Jesus? It says, I've overcome the world. You know what that means? I didn't come to evaporate all the trouble. I came to do something that is so outsized, so overwhelming compared to the trouble of this life. The trouble is going to seem to you like a mom who's just given birth after she's given birth, and she's going to look at the birth, and then she's going to look at the trouble, and she's going to say, I'm glad. I have joy. He's saying, if you follow me and you come with me, you're not going to get to the end of your life and go to be with Jesus and sit around thinking for eternity how sad you are about all of the trouble you went through. Oh man, I can't believe so many things happened to me. Oh man. And it's not going to be like you have eternity to just dwell on all the stuff that didn't go right. It's not going to be like that. He says, I've done something, I'm doing something now that outweighs your trouble like a bazillion fold. Do you understand? I've overcome trouble. Ain't nothing but a thing. Trouble. You don't have to freak out. You've got to hold on to this. Take heart in this. What's that mean, to take heart? It means get your courage from this. Get some courage in you from this. Knowing, no, I've actually overcome the world. I have set you up. I have set you up. So take some heart. Take some heart. Now, I'm a real guy, okay? I'm a real guy. So when I say these things, I think the same things that you think. Some of you wonder, how does Pastor James know that I think about this? Because I think about this too. That's how. The secret's out, right? I know, because I'm a human. And I would bet that you think some of the same things that I do when we go through trouble. When Jesus says, take heart, I've overcome the world, you know what I think? Sometimes I think, you know what? I would take some heart. I am so ready to take some heart. Here's how I'll take some heart. You fix the thing, then I take the heart. Right? You put the thing back in order, then I will have the peace. I mean, isn't that how the world thinks and the world is set up? Like, yes, I am experiencing anxiety. How do we fix the anxiety, Jesus? I'm going to pray to Jesus that he takes away the cause for all of my anxiety. Then I won't have to feel anxiety anymore. Isn't that how it works? Very simple. I am in grief. I am in pain. How do you fix it, Jesus? Oh, well, I will go back in time, I will undo the thing that happened, and then you won't have that to think about anymore, and then you'll be fine. Listen, you're a Christian, I get it, but guess what? I know you think this way. I know you. I know you. Because you're a human, and you think this way. It's natural to everybody. When will I ever have peace? When will I have joy? I know when I don't have trouble anymore. That is when I will have it. That is how I would accept the peace that Jesus offers. Fix the thing, then I'll be okay. But listen, that's just what the whole world does. Isn't it? Isn't that just what everybody's already doing and thinking? That's not take heart, that's take a number. I have problems, I have trouble, it's bad. What am I going to do? Well, call your Maytag appliance repairman and schedule an appointment, and he will be there and he will fix it, and then you will not feel any anxiety about the thing anymore. I mean, that's just how the world works. You got a problem, you need to fix the problem, then you'll have peace. That's how it works. Jesus says it's not how it's working with me. And I am not saying for a moment that it is wrong for anybody to desire that Jesus would swoop in and fix some stuff in your life and fix it sooner rather than later. I'm not discouraging you from praying for things. I am totally not. And here's the thing. Jesus may fix some things in your life in this lifetime. He may do it right away. He may take his time, or he may not do it. One of those three. But what Jesus is talking about is a kind of peace that is like way oversized for this mission. Whether you get your thing fixed whether it takes a long time to get your thing fixed, whether you never get your thing fixed at all during this lifetime, Jesus is saying, I got something that's bigger than that coming down the pipes. And it is for you. It is for you. This is the kind of thing, if you can take heart in this, if you could just wrap your mind and wrap your heart around what I'm talking about, you can go to the Lord about your thing and pray about your trouble, and you might get an answer. You might get an answer later. You might not get an answer about your thing. But if you take heart in this hope that I am talking about, you will be okay no matter what. You will find a way through. You may wrestle. You may fall down and stumble and question and have your doubts and have to work through those things, but if you will hold on to this thing, you can take heart. It is better than what it was going to be before. Better. Better. I know it's hard to think like that, but better. What I have on the way is better. Better. Wish I could jump up and down on this stage, but it won't take it because it'll be boom, 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 boom. It's better. I'm not saying you won't have trouble. No, you will have trouble in this life. As long as you are living on the earth, you will experience troubles. That's not what I'm here to evaporate. I'm here to evaporate your anxiety about what's on the other side. And if you will hang on with me, you can take some heart. You can get brave again. Because I've got something that outweighs it all. Can you hear that, people? I've overcome the world. I've got something that outweighs all of it. I want you to think. Take your trouble. What is the trouble that you've been through? Just take it. Take it. You can put it on my table if you want. Don't come up here, but put it on my table from there. You put it here, right? Takes up this much room. Now think about the trouble you're going to have tomorrow. How big is that? I don't know. It didn't come. Well, just, put a size to it. Try and guess. Just put it over here. This is the trouble here. You got to put the trouble over here. Now think about next year. What could that bring? I don't even know. There might be trouble, though. Might be good, might be trouble, might be a mix. Let's put the trouble over here. And now go through the rest of your life, however long it is. Going to be 100? Great. Glad to have you with us. I'm going to be looking forward to it. You're going to be a great old man, old woman. I love it. Okay, you're going to live to be 100. Take all of the trouble that you will experience throughout your entire life and batch it and put it all on this table. You add it all up, weigh it, put it on a scale. Jesus says, my thing weighs more. My thing is bigger. Weighs more. Way more. So take some heart. Take some heart. I have my musicians come on up, if you would, guys. I don't know exactly where you are. I couldn't. I'm not that good. Maybe you are going through the hard thing right now. And out of anybody there is to talk to, you would be the hardest to talk to about this right now, because when you're in pain, you feel pain, you think about pain, you know pain. That's what you think about. And I have a lot of mercy for somebody who's in pain. Very difficult to think about anything else. Oh, that was a great message. Yeah, I'm thinking about my pain. You're flashing back and forth between your pain and trying to pay attention because you're supposed to, but just keep coming back to pain. That's where you're at. And listen, I have mercy for you. I totally have compassion. And the only thing The only thing I would challenge you with this morning is it possible that what Jesus says can overcome what you are going through? Could that promise be for you? That's all. I'm just asking you to question, could that promise be for you? In all of your pain, in all of your disappointment, and all of the discouraging things that you have around you, no support, I don't know what it is, could that promise be for you? I believe that it is. It is precisely for you. If you've gone through stuff, hard stuff, and you're doing that thing, it's a little less bad than it was. It's a little less bad than it was. Every day that goes by, it's a little better, it's not as bad. I don't think about it, 100% of the time, just like 88% of the time. I wonder if I can ask you, does it apply to you too? Is there something Jesus has in this that's meant for you just as much as it was for those boys then? Is that guarantee yours? Are you trying to reach for it even? Do you reach for it anymore? Some of you watching, you can look back at different points of time in your life and you think, I could kind of see what happened. I went through the thing and then I just kind of slowly drifted off into the lane and I just never really got back on track again. And what I believe for you is Jesus is calling you, saying, look, take heart. I know the trouble was real, but I've got something that outweighs it. Come back and get a piece of that. That's my hope for you this morning. As these guys begin to play, and they're gonna sing one of our earlier songs, and I'm inviting you today to just come forward and to be prayed for. And what I want you to do, if you come up, what I want you to do is to just sit where you are and listen for a little bit. And just ask yourself, is this for me? And what I would like you to do, if you're willing, is to just come to the front as we're singing, and they're going to kind of jam out here for a little while. But just walk through that question. And if your answer is yes, I want to take ownership of that, then I want to pray for you this morning. I'd like you to actually come up to the front as, I don't know, people are going to see you. Yeah, people are going to see you. People see you everywhere. You know what? You're on social media every day. You're embarrassing there too. It doesn't matter. Come on. If people are just like looking at your pictures and you're just like, oh, this is such a great picture. Oh, it's amazing. And they're just like, why more food? Nobody cares. Come on. Who cares? You're amongst friends and brothers and sisters here. If you want to take ownership and say, yes, I want some heart. Give me some heart. I struggle with heart. Give me more heart. I want to own this and live it like it's true. That's what we're praying for you this morning. So I'm just going to give you just a little bit, and then I'm going to come back and invite you up if you want prayer. And I know I've got some people that are going to come on ahead and pray with us. So please, just think about this and ask this to the Lord directly yourself.